Hello everyone. So, I am in control now. Well, that's annoying. Let's just reduce this and make it actually look all pretty and stuff. Just kidding, there's always going to be a little bit of a gap. That's actually annoying me. Close enough. That's how we'll work it. Alright, everything should be good now. Let me know how the audio is in chats. It'll be a 3-minute delay, so you guys have to deal with it if it's bad, but hopefully I compensated already. Oh god, WCS game mode overlay. Alright, it is a best of 5. Just best of 5. There we go. I know the controls. Don't worry about me. PvT. And the top left has the blue Terran. It is GuMiho. In the bottom right has the red Protoss. It's Neeb. So we did mention, I guess, in the last series that this was a rematch of the Ting finals that happened in California about 2 months ago at this point. And GuMiho did end up taking that over Neeb. GuMiho also being a GSL champion is good news for him too. I mean, obviously this guy's pretty good. Neeb apparently now #1 in WCS points. It's kind of an epic matchup, epic storyline just in itself without any history to these guys. But everything combined together, and GuMiho's sometimes odd play style, and it ends up being a very, very good matchup. So, I don't even really know what to say about this other than it seems like GuMiho would do this. We've seen it before, maybe from GuMiho. Sometimes you see it proxied over here and then lifted to the main base before they can think about putting pylons down for it. Because you gotta, realize in the early game, a Protoss player is more worried about what a Reaper can do with the pylons and denying scouting than it is usually of worrying about what's over here or over there. And of course the other pylon goes in the front in case there's a cyclone push. Point is, you don't have pylons all around the base, but funnily enough, oh no, this actually doesn't see it. Damn, building structures have no vision. Oh man, that's bad. Well, you guys saw the probe run around. Neeb obviously knows that GuMiho can be up to some very shenanigan-y tricks, but just wasn't quite thorough enough in that scouting, and that's going to be a Widow Mine right into that natural, or that main base, while the Reaper distracts in the natural. Oh god. I mean, there's not much else going on, so I feel like he should notice. And I sense an Adept over here realizes what's going on, sees the Widow Mine. Yeah, you're not really able to kill unless you get a full surround. Even then, it's a little bit risky. And, ooh, that was probably the best scenario that he could have hoped for. Goes into the gas geyser of all things. Very nicely done so far. Now, the tricky thing about a factory proxy, well, in your opponent's main base, is that it just doesn't die that quickly. And the Widow Mine can actually burrow against a lot of different combinations of units. So they might not ever leave. As you can see, the Adepts barely don't get the last shot on it. So, this factory can produce more than just a single Widow Mine, even if it's scouted. Ah, a little late to the split, but splits well enough, so only 4 go down. Reaper now taking out a couple more probes too, and this is altogether not too shabby. Revelation only reveals 1 Widow Mine at a time, and this one wasn't even popping out, so that was perfectly timed for GuMiho. He's even going to be building a flipping cyclone. The Widow Mine goes roundabout, apparently, and manages to burrow. This one is going to get 1 shot. No, it's not. Oh, lordy. Oh, here we go. It's trying. Oh, we trying. Okay, there we go. It's 2 probes, I guess. Could have only gotten 1. That was very dangerous because the probes were also dangerously close to being next to this burrowed Widow Mine. Okay, we get some like 2 probe kills. But it's really good damage because GuMiho's also just macroing behind here. I guess they caught him when he supply blocked, so that's perfect. But the point is, he's got a CC down in location, getting his macro up and running, and even pushing forward as Neeb tries to take things calmly. Still producing probes, still producing, his tech that he would need. He goes for the faster third base, as he usually would. He's thinking about how to survive long term without overcompensating for the aggression, and, well, unfortunately, I don't think he compensated for what is just a simple push to the front. The Marines aren't that scary, but a Cyclone is. And, you know, Neeb can't quite tell this isn't a Widow Mine. I think Cyclones produce a lot slower, but is he really counting the seconds here? A Cyclone pops out and can kill, maybe not a Stargate, that's a little bold, but it could definitely kill a Pylon. Phoenix could lift it to at least stop it from killing the Stargate, but only for so long. That's what it's going to have to do. An attack at the front, though, is going to be able to almost kill the Oracle, almost get the Adept, but Neeb just taps out. GG. I guess you just do we just go to this screen when I want to talk, but out of game? That's, I guess, what we're going to do, then. Alright, well. Looks like Naruto also went in game number 2. He was a little late to the first game, but what was the map pool? Abyssal's coming up next. Well, now everyone wants in. Well, you guys were late. It's not my fault. GuMiho's ready. Let's do this. I believe that was everyone that wanted in. In-game sound's pretty low. I can fix that. Hopefully it's good enough now. Damn it. I get used to these controls. We're in game number 2. It's on Abyssal Reef. In the top left, taking that last game, it is the blue Terran, GuMiho. That music has never timed out so perfectly to an intro. In the bottom right has the red Protoss. It is Neeb. He tried so hard to look for the proxy, he tried so hard to look for the shenanigans, and he ultimately failed. I mean, when you really expect to have to deal with anything that GuMiho did? Proxy in your main base, building more than one Widow Mine when it was scouted, building a Cyclone, attacking at the front. I mean, Neeb didn't have a terrible defense, but obviously he did make mistakes here and there to lose, I think it was like a total of 10 probes. But I think it was just him being thrown off, like, tempo-wise that really was the kicker. GuMiho is a good player to do that. He just has weird things in mind. Obviously, he was already sent to the losers match by a Zerg, as many others were, but now up against a Protoss player looking a lot better. Neeb beat Jakshi on his way here. It was a decent and also sometimes really cheesy, weird Terran player. So you think he'd be, you know, pretty set up for it. Maybe that's why he scouted his main, just not as thoroughly as he needed to in that last game, or maybe he just knows GuMiho either way. He's a little more warmed up, I suppose, than GuMiho is, but GuMiho is looking strong. And another proxy factory off that one base. Now probes, scouts, and sees that something is amiss. That command center would be too late to be a normal one, so he should be scouting every which way. But you know what he's going to do? Scout the main base, probably. Is he really going to miss the factory if he goes up that ramp? I think he misses the factory if he goes up that ramp. Oh my god. Holy lordy. That's unfortunate. He is scouting for what is probably the more common locations for proxies, and this is definitely one of them. Starport or factory. Of course, the entire right side is also up for grabs, so the point is, even if GuMiho was in like a more expected spot, it still would take a long time for Neeb to scout him. A Stargate can be a good catch-all defense, really. It has detection with the Oracle, and the Phoenixes can be really good at picking up and, you know, moving around. And if it's a more direct attack, like a tank push or a Cyclone push, and there is a Cyclone on the way, a Void Ray can even be helpful. But you do need to buy that time, and unfortunately, Neeb, he knows something is up. He's not quite sure what. Maybe more expecting a proxy Widowmine drop or just proxy Widowmines. It doesn't have the appropriate tools to help against a more direct push. I'm talking mainly a pylon at the front. He's trying to build one now as he's also building his mothership core, but I think it'd be too late. Cyclones will kill pylons very, very quickly. He's not even going to try. I mean, GuMiho wasn't even attacking the damn pylon. It might have finished, but it still would have died so quickly. Jeez Louise. Alright, well, GuMiho takes a quick 2-0 lead. And is on his way to qualifying through the losers round. Now, Neeb would not be out of the tournament yet. There is a losers round for the top 8 losers. A lot of losers. That we know Penguin is waiting for down there, but no one else quite yet. Ready to go. Neeb not looking so hot. Just getting almost trolled here. Sequencer will be the next map. I mean, it's a bigger map, but I don't think that really matters. Abyssal is kind of big too, isn't it? Some sounds different from earlier. Well, that's probably due to Skype compression. My mic is actually coming to you as it is intended to. Alright, I think I would fix the in-game sound with this option, actually. Oh, Neeb left. Now they're ready. So I changed the audio on OBS, so hopefully that would actually fix it, because cranking it up in game was just making my ears hurt. Damn it. The only good thing about the WCS overlay is that the production is immediately on, but to get out of the habit of turning it on is difficult. Tough life. Alright, it's game number 3, potentially the last game in this qualifying match. In the bottom left has the blue Terran, and up 2, it is GuMiho. Shit. Let me do that again. It is GuMiho. Here you go. In the top right, as the red Protoss, it is Neeb. And maybe this time he won't have to deal with the proxy factory. That would be the life, wouldn't it? That would just make things so much easier if the factory would just stay at home. GuMiho, maybe he's tired of getting all the free wins, so maybe he's actually going to do a regular macro build. And Neeb is once again going to send a probe scout, because that is a very smart option to do. I mean, he wasn't wrong in doing it last game, he was just wrong in what he anticipated coming out from the proxy he knew was around, just not exactly where or what was coming out of it. So, you know. That's the trick. So, it was a trick even back when Terrans were using the one base, no proxy. They would just let their 1-1-1 be scouted because the Protoss couldn't stick around long enough to see exactly what was coming out of the 1-1-1. The power is not just in the proxy sometimes, but also just in the, you know, the units. The factory really has a good amount of units that are all powerful in different situations. And then the starport beyond that, I guess, but we didn't really get to see the starport highlighted as much. GuMiho is certainly a guy that can do that, though. 2 base, build a factory at home, proxies and starport still. But we might see Neeb finally get to do what he wanted, which seems to be in every game so far, from what we've seen, to go into Phoenix. At least, I want to say Adept just naturally, but that's really not how Protosses are playing so much anymore. There's a lot more variety in the follow-up that's usually... I would say nowadays it's actually usually Charge or Blink, but the point is not Resonating Glaives, not Adepts. But, yeah, definitely the Phoenixes and the third base. I do want to note, I guess, while we actually have a calm game here, that... Okay, well, this Reaper's already doing pretty good damage. Neeb, the type of guy that always skips his Mothership Core, even against Terrans. Got him. Okay, cool. That Neeb is in Korea. He's been here for, like, 2 weeks almost. I think I hung out with him, like, a week ago, and he was, like, there a couple days. Something like that, alright? So, one, he's been practicing the Korean server. He's on the Korean server. There's no, like, you know, imbalance there when it comes to these two guys. And that's also, when it comes to IEM Shanghai, if Neeb does manage to get qualified, whether through this match or the losers match, or whatever you want to call it, it's really not that bad of a fight for him. I mean, that's looking pretty far into the future against, like, a month from now, but I like to consider that. Because, of course, Shanghai, China, not many tournaments are, you know, played out there, certainly not for foreigners to really go to. And it is a pretty hefty flight if you're in Europe or America. But Korea, it's really not that big of a deal. Anyway, more so to the first 2 points. That Neeb not getting tackled here by delay or lag or anything like that. Just by GuMiho. Being GuMiho. Fast third base, just directly into Phoenix up there is that Oracle. GuMiho did not bother going into a medevac. I think this was a way that Terrans were kind of adapting to Protoss a while ago. You can kind of go both ways now. That doesn't mean, like, you can try and do the Woodamine drop and still force it to work. You know, just be very cautious with it. Or you can go for the defensive opener, which is just plant your Woodamines around your bases, maybe in the middle of the map, you know, that thing. But also get a Viking, because the medevac, honestly, against a very good Protoss player who's on point with their Phoenix positioning, medevac shouldn't be doing anything at all in the first place. So just get that Viking, try and kill the Oracle, and play a more, you know, even more macro game. Stim is not that far along. This is going to add on combat shields. Of course, Neeb constantly scouting with the Oracle as much as he can anyways against the Viking. And just making sure that GuMiho has no secret little push up his sleeve, because that's the type of guy that GuMiho is. Oh. I guess I maybe should have titled T the barcode, but the barcode is Neeb. Clever little Woodamine placement, and that last shot from the Viking gets the Phoenix. Nicely done. Neeb's still going to get up to probably that normal count of 5. You see the Twilight Council on the way, and paying very close attention to what exactly is coming out from that Twilight Council. What's it gonna be? What's it gonna be? Trying to take out of a Woodamine, loses him another Phoenix, not worth. It is gonna be Resonating Glaives. So, Phoenix Adept, very, very common thing to say, just not so much anymore, but certainly something that is still viable. And then we might see, of course, that Blink after. The Phoenix is supposed to do what Blink would also be able to do, but as the game goes on, the Phoenix number isn't really that high, and of course, Liberators also become a problem. You just need to round out that Gateway army. But GuMiho is getting ready to attack with combat shields, +1, stim, all that jazz, as Neeb is getting ready to actually produce with his upgrades. Now, his production will be done, I think. Just barely here, but his upgrades will be a little bit far off. So he's got to defend with the help of the Mothership Core, Guardian Shield, and just as many units as he can muster. Nice done by GuMiho to anticipate something. It was probably more so a scouting marine, but that still helps against the stasis traps. That's Protoss seem to be doing much better about, by the way, like actually using them. Revelation's a good skill, of course, but stasis trap sometimes looks to be a better one. Phoenixes guarding against what is an anticipated drop, or even Liberators. Liberators going to the left and right can always be a headache. Oracle, unfortunately, does die. I think that was his only one. So no stasis traps and no revelation, more importantly. The Robo is only just on its way, so there's actually no scouting for what could have been Widow Mines, and there are, actually. This is actually a cool little trick that GuMiho is doing. These otherwise would have had revelation on them, but in the medevac, I don't believe they do. But that doesn't matter because the Oracle died. So this, of course, can be split against. It can even be used against the Terran. So you have to be careful with Widow Mines, but Neeb's going to be extra careful now that he doesn't know exactly where they are. But he manages, of course, to finish his upgrades. That was not so much a problem. He's getting +1 armor now, too. GuMiho not trying to overcommit at any point. Just playing to that macro game, building up his Liberator count. Scouting as well, I guess. Warp Prism is going to certainly be helpful for bringing back GuMiho's army, those desperate situations. That is a good army. GuMiho up 20 army supply. Phoenix numbers are actually plentiful enough to do work against the Liberators at 8. And I think he lost 2. Yeah, he lost 2. That's actually more than you would usually see. But they are going to be a lot better at taking care of the Liberators as well as guaranteeing the kills on the medevacs. Liberators actually disengage from the army, go their own way. And are going to try and get some probe kills while GuMiho decides to go elsewhere. It's a little difficult to do that on Sequencer, though. There's so many pathways, there's so many ramps, and there's so many options for the AI to get screwed up on that going across, left to right on Sequencer can sometimes be a real headache. But if you can surprise your opponents with that maneuver, it is worth it. Liberators siege up as Neeb tries to respond to the army he thinks is coming this way. Adepts just transferring over here. Warp Prism tries to get to the main base, is caught by the Viking, but there's nothing else to take care of it, so at least it's going to unload. Or not. That was actually just on move. That was actually shift clicked. That was a bad shift click. He at least would have gotten 4 Adepts in the main base and caused the rally to change. But that's... I mean, that wouldn't have been that impressive. Liberators finally cleaned up, but after killing 11 probes and distracting Neeb, army is out of position, and now the Widow Mines are creating quite a hefty barrier against the army. He tries to drag the Widow Mines onto the bio, and it works out pretty damn well. He even accidentally lifts a lot of bio into a medevac, and that, well, it looked like it started off with Neeb being caught out of position, ends up going quite well for him. He's got a 4th base, starting to produce probes. He's on his way to Colossus and upgrades. And while GuMiho, I thought, could have taken a better fight, he is also onto a 4th base, about halfway done, 2-2. And, well, I guess he would have to scout that it's Colossus before he responds to him. He scouts a base that was just transferred over to. Not the worst thing to see. Not the best thing either. There was a Widow Mine here, but I guess he moved it. And no sights on the double Robo Robotics Bay. I mean, I think it's a pretty natural progression for Protoss. Although some Protosses do just stick on Mass Gateway. I think Colossus are coming back in a favor. This is super annoying. So, it's really up to GuMiho as to how he's going to decide to handle it. Some people go for just as many Liberators as possible, and some people actually try and go Vikings. That was a lot of SCVs killed, 13 in total. Liberator's going to try and return some of that damage, but not looking too great. Okay, well, the Stalkers move, of course. But yeah, it's not really Liberators or Vikings. This makes me very worried. I think the Colossus is still not scouted, so he still doesn't know. Whatever that was died really quickly. Oh my god. Alright, now he sees the Colossus. He actually shows the target fire rate. Almost gets it. Didn't have extended thermal lance after all. Barely gets out with a drop. Army supplies even, but army types starting to look better for Neeb, in my opinion. Especially if it's all together. I mean, if it's a little split right now, that looks a little bit scary. But all together with 2 more Colossus on the way. Charge about halfway done. And upgrades both being chronoed out. Actually, they're not the ones that are chronoed. The point is, they're on their way. There we go. Neeb's army is looking quite good. GuMiho is securing his 4th base with the planetary. Maybe unnecessary, but certainly a relief. Don't have to worry about it. But I'm looking at that starport timing. It just doesn't feel very good. He went for a Ghost Academy instead, probably anticipating, well, more Gateway army, but also maybe a transfer over to charge lots. But while it is charge, it's more so about the Colossus. So, I don't know. Templar Archives even on the way. So, of course, eventually we'll get to the late-game TVP that we all know and love from the last 7 years. Colossus, Storm, Gateway Army versus Bio, Viking, Ghost. That's the word. It will take some time, and if GuMiho attacks before he has a response to the Colossus, we might not see that engagement at all, that army at all. Very dangerous of him to break down those rocks, but that was not all of Neeb's army anyway. That's actually not all of GuMiho's army either. He deals with an attempted adept run by very nicely. Definitely a waste for Neeb to do that. And has a run by. It's running by, it's not dropped. Killing a scouting pylon. And seeing, I guess, that 5th base. Close to it. The first ghost is on the way. We have only 1 Viking. GuMiho is being insistent upon upgrading his air attack, which he should be, but he's not actually producing any air. So I don't know. I don't know, man. He's gonna have to give up some of his army if he wants any air units. But I think the air units are the better way to go. You know, if this is a... I don't know, like... I'm trying to think of a very historically, like, open middle ground of a map, but the point is, if it's a map that has a huge open space in the middle that you trap the Protoss in when they feel confident and they get this huge concave and it's all great for the Terran, then Bio is the way to go. Do it all you want. But if it's a map that has a lot of chokes and ramps, the situation usually is going to favor the Protoss when it comes to direct engagements with Colossus and force fields and storms. The GuMiho is trying to split Neeb apart, and it's working okay. In fact, Neeb getting a little too far forward. He does need those storms to help his army out here, so have to be very careful. GuMiho is pushed aside in both situations, but took some decent trades. He is maxing out again with more of a rounded out late game army. We have 3-3 finishing up. We have the extra engineering bay upgrades on the way. Vikings and ghosts, and now that he has the +2 air weapons, the Liberators will one-shot stock or two-shot stalkers. Actually, I forget the number. Point is, that's the difference of another shot for the stalkers. No, I'm not that tired, but I actually can't remember what it is. Yeah, it's two-shotting, right? And so that's what they used to do before the Liberators were nerfed. Whatever. GuMiho is smart enough to know what it is, and it might come into effect here, but of course we don't have any Liberators, so it is more about just making the Vikings as beefy as possible. That's a lot of storms. That's a no-go zone. No-go. Another base on the way, so 5 bases versus what is going to be 6 for Neeb. These resources lost. They've been just skirmishing every which way. Favorable for GuMiho, it looks like. It's gonna get a cancel on this attempted 6th. Cancel. There you go. Neeb has seen nothing. Oh no, he has seen the Vikings, the Ghost, never mind. Manages to get an Archon on the way out. And I talked about, I guess, the Protoss army taking better engagements when it's clumped on a ramp and on the choke and all that, but that's where the Vikings managed to catch Colossus running this way and that, getting AI'd on, and that's where EMPs suddenly get a lot of units all in one. Neeb is also just simply all over the place, having to deal with so many pushes, and I bet his army got a little confused at some point. More MPs go down on the Archon, scans ahead. He is taking out the Colossus, but has to be careful not to let his army die before they're dead, basically. The Colossus are gonna die, it looks like that way, and I think Neeb might just die here too, but the point is, they're doing a lot of damage before they died. One is gonna try and survive, but that's probably not gonna happen. We still even have a couple of ghosts here, and Neeb is desperately, I think, F2ing, as we have some Phoenixes even joining the fray. There's really nothing but Marauders left over, so they might just be able to push this back. DT was warped in as well, doing a lot of damage, and I guess that's what's happening over here. DT's not quite getting the SCV kills that they would want, though. Just gets a Center Tower, and a Warp Prism not warping in. Neeb actually is banking quite a lot of money. He could warp in a dangerous amount of Zealots, not so much on the gas, so a dangerous amount of Zealots, and that's what he does. 4 Zealots on the way. I'm gonna start camping that production. There was a lot of rally, though. There we go. Responding now. But that was a pretty important moment. That was dangerously close to snowballing in GuMiho's favor, especially since the DTs of Neeb weren't quite doing what they wanted. But with that pushback, GuMiho, well, they both get a moment to breathe. Neeb is producing Immortals instead of Colossus, but I like that choice. We really have seen almost an entirely Marauder army, only a sprinkle of Marines and Ghosts. GuMiho could have also accidentally just continued on its Viking production, which would obviously be, you know, okay for someone who's not going Colossus, but that's not happening either. Then the double drops in the natural, but that is a lot of cannons and a lot of wizard overcharge, so not going to happen there. Factory, I mean, Widow Mines probably aren't going to do anything in the first place, but also controlling Widow Mines along with everything else is just a little bit too difficult. So to see it floating is expected, I think, after like 15 minutes. But, you know, as the charge lot count starts getting higher and higher, I sometimes wonder if they wish the factory had just been secure. Oh well. Scanning the main base, I guess, for DTs that were just turned into Archons. They killed a Pylon, but there wasn't much else to kill. They're all maxed out on upgrades. Just maybe a gateway or two. Probe's going down, though, here. He did end up committing to the drop against all those cannons, all those wizard overcharges. Apparently, it actually got down, and a lot of probes died for this. So maybe that was worth, but that was a lot of army to lose as well. Apparently, that was worth. Neeb is the one that is down in army supply by 30, but losing 16 probes still doesn't put him in a bad worker spot. I guess he just had too many probes. Damn. Well, Neeb is on quite the economy, so I guess 71 probes was good. 70, or is good, rather. 84, I guess whatever he was at before was good is what I meant. That's, it's only good if you have the bases, and he might just lose a base here. He might just lose a base over here, too. This High Templar not quite with enough energy to go. He's going to lose the Nexus, as well as a handful of probes in the top left. I don't think he's responding to the top left. There's a Pylon, but he's not warping in. He's trying to attack with a DT down here, but he's only going to force a liftoff on what is not such an important mining base anymore. There's a Planetary with a missile turret over here, and this army is continuing forward. He's got to be careful, though. He doesn't know if there's High Templars waiting with Storm somewhere, and that could be the end of a lot of these Marauders' lives. But he finds the probes that were pulled away from the top left. That is going to go down. All the probes are going to go down, and now Neeb's down to 49 workers to 54. His army is being kited against as well. And there is that explosion in the top left. Reinforcements come in. There's a lot of Archons. GuMiho would definitely wish for a couple of EMPs. One goes down. The Immortals are going to make work of this army. That's the best thing that Neeb has right now, but he's going to need some charge-out reinforcements to really help him out. You can see Immortal taken care of over here. Stalker's going down. Neeb no longer with that huge bank, can't reinforce, and I think GuMiho is going to 3-0 Neeb to the qualifying spots, actually. This is a qualifying match. Not quite over yet. GuMiho having trouble killing maybe some of the Archons. He's scared of the Immortals. These High Templars do not actually have Storm either. They're so close to it. That is game. GuMiho. And finally, a hard-fought game number 3 takes it 3-0. And that's that. Neeb will go down to what is another loser's match. As that wasn't the end-all, be-all. But GuMiho will join Byun in the qualifying spot from the loser's round. From the winners' qualifying spots, there was Solar, Maru, Dark, and Rogue. Oh, and actually Bunny also advanced over Ryung. That's going to send us into the next series. I believe Trust and Hero are the only ones that have to be done. So it looks like I'm going to be getting into Ryung versus Penguin as the last match. So before we get into that, I'm going to take a quick break. Thanks for watching, everyone.